we will definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here. I must be the greatest. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
I'm a bad man. I took up the world.
Yes, welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you were here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man
MH.
He is the DB of the show, and we are Black in Sports, giving a voice to the culture that won't shut up and dribble. Here, interviewing the best professionals in the game and in the boardroom, covering it all, laughing it all, while providing a platform to be heard. So you know what we do around this time, man. So we got to welcome them in. We want to bring our guests in to the show. And I just figured I would try to get him amp a little bit and see if this will get him going. I'm so happy to have him on the show, okay? He's a busy guy. And you know what they say, heavy is the head that wears the crown, man. So without further ado, we have Vice President of Event Marketing and Ticketing of the UFC. Please clap it up for my friend and yours, Genetinner Jr., a.k.a. King G. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I was waiting for it. Hey, so G, how we start the show, man, is we start the show with the shoot your shot moment, man. So this is, a time and a specific time because, everybody like, oh, I always shoot my shot. And that's good. But for the people, we want a specific time where you shot your shot, man. It could have been win or lose. You could have when I learned a lesson, could have been, how we got Mrs. Tenner in the building, but just any kind of shoot your shot, man, go.
I will say this. One of the biggest shots I shot my shot was with UFC. So people don't know this. I applied for UFC 13 times throughout my career.
Whoa.
No, every time.
Whoa, that's big. Okay.
And when it was time for me to go to UFC, they actually called me instead.
Wow.
So I just kept shooting my shot, and it finally happened. Like, everybody from Toyota Center really know that story about me and UFC wanting to work for the UFC. They know it. My old boss from the UFC, he knows about it, and they'll tell you, like, Gene always said he's going to work for the UFC. Even that was 15 plus years ago.
Let's go. Okay.
And I told him, I was like, I'm gonna work for the UFC.
Consistency, calling your shot. I love it.
Always. Yeah.
I love it. So, Gene, where did your love for sports start?
Man, just growing up in the sports household, my dad used to coach literally every little league player around town, and we was all in the little league. He was always the president of the league. So he's the president of the football league, president of the baseball leagues, and then basketball. So as a son, I was involved in all of it. So I was always around it. I'm surprised I didn't get burned out of sports. I just was tired of it, but it was fun. I got to be with my dad, and I got to just grow up in the industry pretty much. So that's when my love for sports started. It was at the very beginning. It was just in my household all the time. Go to the garage, helmets everywhere, helping my dad line the field for the baseball field, helping him cut the grass for the football and baseball fields. Yeah, so my love for sports started at a very young age.
So born in H-Town, Houston, Texas?
H-Town, yep, definitely.
So talk to us a little bit about the family. So you talked about dad, really giving that foundation, but brothers and sisters, people cousins keeping you competitive, man. Were they involved in during that journey?
Oh, always. My brother, who's passed away, and my mom, who's passed away, both of them were like very, very important into my role. Like, when I first started in sports, like, I really originally wasn't gonna go into sports at all. I was working in politics at the time. So I was a poli-sci major, dealing with econ and working with politicians, and I was doing all that. My mom ended up getting sick, so I had to come back to Houston. So I came back to Houston to help out, and I was like, I don't know if I want to get in the political sector in Houston, but I like working in sports. I have one of my cousins, she was working over at Rice University, and she was working in their athletic department. And that's one of the people like I respect the most. One of my cousins, she's an AD at University of Colorado. She basically taught me everything. She took me underneath her wing, taught me everything I need to know about the ticketing industry, the sports industry, how to make it in the industry. And she was like a big influence on that when I came back home. And I was like, I don't know if I want to get in this political thing, but I do love sports. It's always been sports politics in my household. So I love both of them. Like when I was in school, that's all we did, sports, politics. So at first, I thought I was like, I'm gonna go do politics. I'm gonna go to law school, become a mayor in the town, do something like that. And then once I got into politics, and I realized, man, this is not what it is. Like this is like I have my moral compass wouldn't let me stick into politics at all. I was like, no, I don't like following certain rules. I don't want to be pinned down to like one party and their views. I'm like, I can't do that. Like, it wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be original. I don't want to, and I'm not going to lie to the public. I'm not going to give you something fake. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to do something.
No fake news here, huh?
Yeah, I can't do that, man. It's like you really hurting people and you really dealing with people's lives and livelihood, and you're going to lie to them. I was like, no, I'm not built for that type of culture. Like, I'm not going to lie to you right there. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to give you the truth. And so be it, then so be it. But I still dabble into politics. Like I still help friends who work out in DC from time to time when they need just a voice, like a different voice from what they're hearing. And when they want to talk about something, if they want me to look at some data, statistics, and all right, how should we approach an election? I'll help them out from time to time with that. But for me as personally, I don't want to dab all the way into that. Like, no. And as you see now, it's just corrupt. It's just all over the place. Like, I don't want to touch that. I was like, that's not even politics no more. That's more of personal pride that nobody wants to work with each other. So for me, yeah, that's a no.
That's versatility, man. And we have similar backgrounds. My dad also ran sports leagues, so I think I lined ball fields up when I was like 3. So sports and politics and how that kind of blends together in a lot of different ways. Do you think that versatility came from just kind of observing your dad about how to run the sports league and how to run it all and dealing with parents and dealing with kids and all those type of things?
Yeah. So my dad, he was the president for years for like football leagues, and I saw him deal with all types of people, all types of neighborhoods. And we was in the middle of South Park. It was the MLK Oilers. And he ran that organization. So if you know about Houston, you know about South Park. And all little leagues are in South Park. So you go to the hood, you're dealing with those parents. You got to have a level head. You got to be able to deal with it. So watching him deal with it and seeing how he was able to run these leagues for years, even after we got older and we got past like the little league, he still was doing it. It was something he loved doing, and he was just passionate about. So me seeing him do it and learning how to navigate through different situations and different problems, it definitely helped me throughout my career.
Nice. So the sport of choice, right? So, I mean, you ended up, you got the shirt on, so we got to talk about it. Now, did you play receiver there?
Not at all.
Did you try on? Were you thinking about it, man?
I was a LB at Lamar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Lamar. Shout out to Lamar, Texas.
Yeah. That's for me. That was it. And actually, I played with somebody you interviewed with Sap. Sap was the safety. So
let's go.
So yeah. So like playing sports like football was one thing. I love like baseball. I stopped playing. It was one thing like playing baseball. I should have took it more serious. I regret that. That's one thing I do regret. Because now you think about it, it's like, now I love baseball. Like, I love everything about baseball. When I was growing up, it was football, basketball. Those are things that you do. For me, it wasn't like that at all, man. It was like, oh, yeah, baseball is baseball. I don't really pay attention to it. But all my friends loved it. But I was with my friends. So I was like, all right, I'm going to play. But I wish I would have did like the extra work, practice a little bit harder, actually cared a little bit more about it.
And track is big down there too, right? So we talked about
huge in Texas. Texas Relays is one of the biggest events you can go to.
Give me a little taste of high school football in Texas. I hear about it a lot, but I need it.
I will say this. I would say Texas high school football, you literally like in your district, you're gonna go against several guys that's gonna make it to the league. You go to the playoffs, there's gonna be several guys that's gonna make it to the league. You're going against some top tier talent, and people take it serious, especially when you like we were HISD, so we had to go play. Like we play all the teams at HISD, but when you go to these little towns or these other towns, that is it. Like the Katie's of the world. When I was in school, Katie only had one school, and now they have like several schools in their community. They had one school. Katie was the big dog on the block. But all these kids, and I tell people all the time, we used to play these kids in Little League. Same kids from Katy, beat them in Little League, beat them in middle school. When we got to high school, they've been playing together for so long. We all coming from different places and different schools and different areas to play with each other. At a high school, these guys have been playing with each other since Little League. And they running the same type of offenses all the way up because that's how they train them. So they take it serious. Like the town will shut down. You go in these little small towns and play these teams, you see these little team flags, the stores are closed, restaurants are closed, nothing is open. It's football Friday night.
It's football Friday night lights.
Yeah.
That's so crazy, man.
And that's what I miss about not living in Texas anymore. Like Vegas don't really have that. Like that. Like if I was in Houston, every time I went back to Houston, it was a Friday. Oh, I'm gonna say, ooh, what's the best high school game right now? Who am I going to see? Oh, it's North Shore playing. Even if it's my old school or they playing. So I'm always going to check it out, see what's going on. So, man, yeah, Texas high school football is at a whole nother level, man. And same thing with Florida. Florida's the same way, too. I lived in Florida for a time, and same way. I would go to just high school games just to see, like, all right, let me see the top recruits. Let me go out there and check them out, see what they're doing. Same thing. It's real big, man. It's huge. That's sometimes that's really for some of these towns, all the money that goes into the town is from high school football. Like
and some of the stadiums you see,
just like the stadiums are so ridiculous, man.
It's like the high schools now are getting stadium sponsorship deals in Texas. Like, there's some stadiums around here in the college world that can't even get sponsorship. Yeah. So that's a testament to it.
Yeah, it's huge, man. I tell somebody, and I tell people all the time, it's like I went to HBCU, and I'll tell people all the time, say, man, we have stadiums, high school stadiums that are bigger than HBCU stadiums. Just in Texas, that's how serious it really was.
No, they don't play no games. No games at all. Yeah. So let's talk about your Southern experience, man. I mean, one of the things we do here is we like to shine the light on HBCUs. We think that that's a major part, and definitely part of me wish I would have had some experience of there. But tell us why you chose Southern, right? Like leaving Texas and going to LA.
Well, you gotta think about it. My family is from Louisiana, so. Mom from Louisiana, grandparents, everybody's from Louisiana, from Baton Rouge to New Orleans. I have family all through there, even in the small towns. So for me, it's like, I would say this elementary, went to all black school, elementary. Mom was like, no, you know what? We're taking you out here. We're sending you to Central Houston. So middle school, Central Houston, high school, Lamar, middle of the richest neighborhood in Houston. So like I was there, I had that experience. Like I finally had that experience. She wanted me to be around other people other than just my own, to just see how the world really works.
Right.
Because sometimes you don't get that experience. It's like, all right, I want you to see how the world really works. So I was headed, like my plan was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to Tyler Junior College or something like that once I leave the bar. Like I'm fine with that. Or just go to a regular school, just do academics, maybe go to LSU. Maybe we'll go to one of those, like just regular U of H with everybody else that I graduated with. And then my mom was like, come here. Like, let's go on a trip to Southern's campus. Like, let's just go. So it was me, her, and then my grandfather. My grandfather graduated from Southern. My mom graduated from Southern. And she took me on their campus. And I was like, I'm going to Southern. I was like, I'm going to Southern.
What weekend they take you on?
What's crazy about it, she just took me on just like a normal, just off weekend. It wasn't even homecoming or anything. She just took me up there. She's like, and I think we were just up there because my cousin was at LSU at the time. And I think the whole family was just up there. And she's like, come on, let's just go up here. Let's go to Southern's campus. So she had, like, it was crazy. One of her advisors from when she was there was still there. And so she had me talk to one of her advisors. The advisor took us around campus. My grandfather was selling it because he just, if you know one of them old school HBCU camps, that's what my grandfather was.
Absolutely. That's in their blood. Like, they got to tell you, like, man, this is what you got to do.
And what was crazy, I'll say this. What was crazy, none of my other cousins went to Southern.
Really?
And then on my mom's side, when it comes to just like males, like I was the first male to go to college. Like, well, finish college, I would say. Others went, but I was the first one to finish.
Gotcha.
But so when I went to Southern, it was like a big thing. My mom was happy, my grandfather was pumped. And I tell people all the time, like, that experience changed my life. Because I tell people all the time is, I was like, all right, where you went to school? Do you still have a relationship with your professors? I still have a relationship with my professors.
Wow.
If I'm going through something, I can give them a call like, hey, I'm going through this. How do I navigate through it?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, a lot of people don't get that experience at all. It's like, especially for us, being African-American, you need that type of support. You need that person to lean on that's actually been through stuff and know how to navigate through the business world and just show you the different ways. So for me, it's just like having that experience and knowing, like, I have lifelong friends for life. Like, none of my classes was like,
right, for college,
yeah,
right? That's a big proponent for MH. But MH is a big go to school, so he likes to hear those kind of tit poles and
man, lifelong friends forever, and we all successful in our own realms, man.
That's
like I have
beautiful,
friends
man.
who are in politics, like I have friends who are in marketing and doing different things. So for us, just the HBCU experience was just great. We learned a lot. And our professors looked out for us very well, and we took that wherever we went. That's why we beat on our chest with a lot of pride. We're like, man, yeah, we went to Southern University. Oh, we went to Grambling. You went to TSU. And one thing we don't tolerate is like we will talk about each other all day. All day. Every HBCU, we will mess with each other. We have HBCU groups where we just talk about each other all day. But as soon as somebody come from that outside,
shut it down.
Everybody's gonna shut their person down.
Shut it down. All right. So this experience, man, you brought up two things. So I want to bring up really quick things before we move on. One, okay, I'm an outsider, right?
Okay.
And if I was to choose,
me too,
which homecoming I should go to, which one should I choose if I'm going to Howard's homecoming or I'm going to Southern's homecoming?
I would say Howard in early 2000s.
Oh, you saying it's falling off? Okay.
Yeah, Howard homecoming not the same. It's not what it used to be.
Okay.
I mean, Howard homecoming used to be the homecoming because I actually had a chance to go while I was at Southern. me and a couple of my friends made that voyage, and we drove. So you broke in college, you can't even afford plane tickets. You all pitching in on gas.
Hop in the whip, and you know, you broken gas was a lot cheaper back then. So
gas was a lot cheaper back then. So you know what? One of the friends had a ride. We gassed that bad boy up. We took turns gassing it up.
That's what's up.
And,
and another question.
Yeah.
Y'all got a big game. What's the third week in the season for your football team, man?
Against LSU. So my opinion about that, game is the game. Okay. We know what it is. Like when it comes to those games, it's really just a money game. Advantage schools, but I feel like it's going to be a homecoming type atmosphere because a lot of people either went to Southern or you went to LSU. So I think it's going to be a homecoming type atmosphere. But it's the first time in a long, like it's never happened in my lifetime.
Oh, really?
Yeah, LSU and Southern is not played. So I think it's going to be like a homecoming type atmosphere where people tailgating is going to be fun. I'm sure the parties that people are going to throw are going to be fun. I'll tell you one thing, the best party, if you ever get to go to a Southern game in Baton Rouge, make sure you hit up the Perfect 10 parties. The Perfect 10 parties were the best parties when I was in school, and I think it's still the best parties going around. But, yeah. Okay. Yeah, those parties are still legit, man. Still.
I'm still laughing at the word voyage. That's been that's been killing me.
Yeah, you take a couple of clothes, you stuff the truck with your clothes. You might take a little air. You might take some airbag and a couple of like blankets and stuff because you share in a room. When you're in college, you don't have no money, man. Like so, you sharing a room. So, but if you want that experience, you did it. And for us, we like I in on this, but for us, like we also went to other big games. Jackson State game was big. So going to Jackson State game. When I was in school, now they finally have FAMU back in the conference. We go to the FAMU game. FAMU game was always fun. So it was all those places we could go, have fun, and those are some of the best memories. We just laugh and talk about it to this day. Like, remember we was like 8 deep in one room, like sleeping in one room trying to make it and get by.
No, those are those memories, man. Anything else, MH, before we move on?
Yeah, I just want to kind of get your thoughts on, obviously there's a spotlight with Dion on HBCUs, and there's all conversations about conference realignment, all that kind of stuff. So from your perspective, what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's good. I think Dion bringing a light to it made the other schools step up, because it was one of the things I was always getting on like Southern about. I was like, guys, like if you see other universities, sports is their bread and butter, and they use sports to fund everything else. And I think I know a lot of our institutions want to focus on education, but if you want the stuff for the institution, for education, focus on the athletic program, grow it out, be visible.
100%.
And I think Dion doing a great job with that, being a little bit more vocal. Some stuff he said, I didn't agree with. I was like, no, you keep that in-house. Like you hold that in-house. You talk with it within the conference. That's something like HBCU students who went to HBCUs know. Like this is a major issue. We'll talk about it within our HBCU group or within our Southern group. We won't let nobody from the outside see what we're talking about. And that's one thing I try to get on the new Southern kids that are right there, that are there now. One thing they do a lot, they talk a lot on Twitter. I was like, no. You don't talk about this on Twitter.
Man,
they already got a bad perception of us. So
right.
if you saying this, they're gonna just pile on you. They're using it to pile on. So I was like, don't do that. Like you talk about it within your group, and then y'all come up with a solution. So that's the biggest thing with me. Like, no, you come up with a solution together. Don't let nobody in your house.
Facts. Super facts. All right, man. So we want to move on into the career, man. And boy, we only have a limited amount of time, so attempt to get all the places you've been. But want to start off, with what we do is definitely make sure we give you your flowers. So first flowers I want to start off with is congratulations to you and the UFC for winning League of the Year from the SBJ, the Sports Business Journal. That was just like last week. So definitely, man, congratulations on that, man. I know that has to be big, especially being like a non-traditional and be thought of as a league and winning that. So congrats on that.
Yeah, that's huge. I think that's huge for the company, man. That's real big for everyone, and especially the people that's been there for 20 plus years, who've been grinding it out from the very beginning. I think that's big for them. Like me, I'm a newbie. I've been on it 3 years. Yeah, it happened. But for them to finally get that acknowledgement from starting UFC from scratch and building it on up, I think that's great, man. That's just
before we say 3 years, man, I'm gonna start putting like an asterisk on your 3 year, man. You've been trying to get with them for a couple years, man. They just I'm gonna just put like some kind of quotient or raise it to the second power or some shit, man. And the other flower, man, I want to give is, man, just coming out of lockdown, man, because like I just really always mindful of saying coming out of lockdown, because people want to act like we're still not in the pandemic, but coming out of the lockdown, man, y'all been crushing it, man, with these gates, man. Just what are we on? Is it a record consecutive amount of sellouts, man? Where we at now?
We're at 15 sellouts right now in the row. That's 15 sellouts, 8 different arena records. So for us, we're just trying to grind it out, man. It's just being smart, knowing the industry. It's just, you got to know the industry. I tell people all the time, if you know the industry, you can break every record in this. You know what to do. My career helped me learn all the things I'm doing with the UFC. So it worked out. Like
it does, right?
Yeah. I was like, it's like, you know what? Probably at the time when I was applying for UFC, it probably wasn't my time yet. And I needed to learn more. And now that I've learned a lot, I'm using everything at the UFC that I've learned over the years.
So UFC was kind of the, speaking of the pandemic, we went from, Zoom calls, not knowing what's going on, to watching grainy footage of a horse, on ESPN and basketball and all that. But I feel like UFC was like the first league to kind of get back going, in some what we kind of used to know it prior to the pandemic. So do you think that was huge for the league? You think a lot of leagues took examples from what you guys did of kicking that back off?
I definitely think leagues took what we did, but we were smart. Like I said, hey, we had a fearless leader who's like, do what you need to do to get it done. And for him to trust like all the different groups inside the organization to get it done, that's huge. Like that gives you confidence to want to get it done. Like even though you're living in this fear of this pandemic, it gave you the confidence. Like, you know what, we can pull this off. We can do this. Like we just had to be cautious. We had to follow the rules, and we pulled it off. And it's paying off. It is really paying off.
That's fantastic. So a little bit about your history, and we can't jump back into UFC, but I definitely want to give you your flowers because that's just amazing for you and the organization. But like, so college, right? Then Houston with the Rockets, and then you did some startup stuff with, you know, Jacksonville, because you had alluded that you spent some time in Jacksonville in soccer from all things. So tell us, like, what was one of the things that you learned kind of going through that where you really locked in and saw like, yo, this is my lane. Like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Man, so I would drive back to Houston. So I was working with my cousin at Rice. She was showing me the ropes and showing me how to do things. I went to, what was it? It was an Intix conference. Went to a conference, met a guy who was with the Houston Rockets. He's at a table, and you know, like one of those tables that they have for people like looking for jobs and things like that. So I got his card, talked to him, reached out to him, was like, hey, you know what? I'm interested in the Houston Rockets position. Like, I really would like to know about it. So he gave me a call, and his name is Brandon Barentine. There's certain people in my life I give kudos to. Brandon's one of them because he taught me a lot. And I just learned a lot from him when I was working with the Rockets. So he got me in inside sales. I was in inside sales probably about like 8 months. And then they realized, like, oh, you have like, it's like ticket ops and all that background. You have that background? I was like, yeah. I was like, so they bumped me over to ticket ops and made me a supervisor. Like, all right, we're going to make you a supervisor over at ticket ops. Wow. So it's like 8 months. So I was selling. I was doing good. Like, I'd have been comfortable selling if I needed to. But operations is something I was looking into because I was really good at strategy and pricing. And that was just from political science days and knowing how to use data science to come up with different solutions and problems. So for me, being in ticket ops, they just didn't pitch it on like, all right, normal ticketing. When I went over to ticket ops, I'll tell people that one of the most influential people in my career is Eric Margulis. Eric Margulis, literally, he was the director at the time.
Okay.
And he took me under his wing. Basically just took me under the wing, taught me everything. And taught me everything about third parties, like concerts and UFC and different events that were coming to the building, along with, you know, the Houston Rockets stuff and basketball and how to just operate, how to deal with promoters. And he let me learn a lot just watching him. And after I watched him, he just let me take over everything when it came to third parties. So I was dealing with the Live Nations, AEGs,
oh wow,
UFCs, boxings of the world, dealing with all those different personalities. And he just basically taught me all that. He taught me how to do it. And then all of a sudden I was learning pricing strategy. All right, you know what? Let me help out these third-party promoters on how to help their pricing and increase their revenue. And so I started doing it. It came to a point where Live Nations and AEGs were just trusting me to just do stuff for them. So, hey, Gene, what do you think about this? Like, what do you think about our pricing here? How do you think we can make more money here? What are the different strategies you would put together? And I was one at the beginning, like, of dynamic pricing. Only a few people were doing dynamic pricing when I came up. And one of the guys out of the San Francisco with the Giants. And then it was us. And then it was like maybe a few others that were doing dynamic pricing. And, you know, now dynamic pricing is the biggest thing for anything when it comes to ticketing strategy, ticket sales. That's what everybody's like looking at. So in Houston was like the biggest part for me. Like I say, Eric taught me everything I needed to know. And I was able to take that everywhere. He didn't like put me in a box and like, all right, this is the only thing you're doing. Let me put you in different spots because you can work. But like I say, using all that information, after 7 years, I was like, you know what? Let me take this step out on faith and like, let me go to Jacksonville. There's a startup, brand new soccer stadium. Went out there and literally built it up, man. We did it from scratch. like from the bare bones, from naming the team and all these different things. And I didn't know where Jacksonville was going to take me. I always knew I wanted to come to Vegas. I wanted to be in Vegas.
Okay.
Just to work in Vegas, like work in the area, because I was like, oh, Vegas eventually is going to be a great sports market. And me doing that, being a part of that startup, helped me get to Vegas because I got to do it again with the Golden Knights.
I was about to say that's a big startup. You know, people think of that as a startup, right? Because we only see where it's at right now. But it was a startup, and you were one.
I was like, people don't remember what is in the office on Sunset. Who was in one room putting things together. So, Jacksonville. I told somebody, like, it's one of those things where experiences, like, you take that leap out on faith. Like, you know what? Let me go to Jacksonville these couple of years. Let me do something on my own. Help build a brand new franchise from scratch. And luckily, it led to Vegas, man. Led to Vegas.
You know what's wild about that, man, and I'm sorry I keep going back to your childhood and seeing your dad work all these kind of leagues and, you know, different clients and how that applies to what you're doing today. Sometimes we don't even realize what we're looking at, you know, until we're actually kind of doing it. So obviously a soccer fan is different from somebody sitting in mixed martial arts, which is different from the NBA. What are some similarities in those fan bases that you kind of pull to get today? And what are the major differences that you kind of learn from those fan bases and pulling today?
I would say it's about pride, like city pride, a lot of the stuff. A lot of stuff is real city pride. When we came to Vegas, like when we was in Vegas, we didn't know what was going to happen. Like, we didn't know if it was going to work. We didn't know if anything, like, all right, is this going to be big? We're bringing hockey to the desert. Are we going to be like the Coyotes? Like, what is going on? What is going to go on here? And for us, like, my passion is like talking with fans. I like talking to fans. I like dealing with them. I like hearing their passion about this, like the sport or event that they're going to, and they're willing to spend their hard-earned money for. So for me, with the Rockets, like, I'm a Rockets fan, so I got to work for my hometown team, and all the fans in Houston, they're real pumped about their team. They love their team. And same thing with soccer. Soccer is, I tell people, give soccer some years. Soccer is going to take over. It's already taken over in Europe already.
That's the biggest sport in the world.
Yeah, give it some time in the States. It's going to take over. It's because you see the NFL owners are starting to buy teams. And that's the thing you need to pay attention to. When they start buying teams, they're finding a way like, oh, I can make profit. Oh, I have the money. I can go grab one of these big-time European players and bring them over here. And they're good at predicting the future. That's what I give NFL owners about. They're looking at the future. They're looking down the line. They know that Charlotte FC or Cincinnati FC, several years from now, it could be making some Premier League money. And that's how they're looking at it. Now, they might not see it. The owner might not see it, but their kids will see it. So, but it's just for me, like I say, it's all about the fans, man. Like, I love dealing with fans. I love dealing with people. I love seeing people's passion for it. Passion, like a UFC fight, I tell somebody is the best thing ever. If you've never been to a UFC fight, you go to it one time, you're hooked. It's because all the fans are passionate about it. They're into it. When you hear the whole arena just go crazy over a good fight, it just gives you that. It gives you that pride. It makes you feel good in the inside. It's like somebody hitting a buzzer beater in basketball or hitting a home run in baseball. It's that same feeling. So seeing it, that pride, like, it just gives me joy seeing that as a whole, man.
Give me your thoughts on I'd love to hear your perspective on F1. I see obviously that's coming to Vegas, and
that's a buzz. You done got him. You got to take a little sip.
I see you take a sip.
You have to take a sip before you get you this answer, boy. I'm ready.
You button the top button.
Yeah, it's like, let me loosen up. So, man, F1 is big. I love F1. I watch F1. I wake up real early in the morning and I watch an F1 race. What's crazy about it, I got into it on the Netflix.
Yeah.
Yes, it was Netflix. I was like, you know what? Let me watch this. Like, let me see what this is about. And I just started watching. I was like, oh, this is dope. Like, you start learning the drive. Like, once you learn the drivers' names and who they are, how they are behind the scenes, and different personalities, you just get hooked. And then you know all the drivers. You're watching all the races real hard, and you see the beefs on the track. Like, all the stuff that's going on. Like, last year was a whole storm by how Lewis Hamilton didn't win the championship last year. So it was a lot of just controversy over there. But man, when I tell you, like the F1's Netflix series had me hooked so bad, I went and bought the video game. Like, you hooked in.
Got him.
I was on the PlayStation 5, like, oh, I know this track. I know all the turns. Like, let me get in here.
So really quick, man, you talked about fandom, right? And now I want to turn it personal to you, right? So Houston Rockets is your team. Makes total and complete sense. But how the hell did you become a Green Bay Packer fan, man?
And why?
Whoa. Come on now. No, I've always been like, I've never was an Oilers fan at all. And
not even the Moon years. I mean, come on.
I did like look. I like the Oilers colors, the jersey and stuff. Hey, look, and the receiving core, that was like fun. It was like run and gun. But I think more for me, like the historical of the history of the Packers, the Vince Lombardi and like that history, and then the G on the helmet is so
okay.
Yeah, so
okay.
And like as a kid, you can be impressionable by little stuff. So I've just been always a Packer fan. Even before Favre, when it was the Magic Man at the helm before he got hurt. So and then you had Sterling Sharp was one of my favorite receivers. Mm-hmm. So man, the Packers has always been my team, man. Like
you got part ownership. Did you ever do that?
Oh, I did. I did all that stuff. I got jerseys. I got jerseys of players. Like I need to do something with my Adams jersey. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. It's great.
Well, you can wear it at least once to the stadium now.
Yeah, you can wear
it. All right, MH, man, you up with the quick hits? You ready?
Yes, sir. Gene, first time if ever you were starstruck.
Starstruck?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I will have to say NBA All-Star Weekend. And who was that walked through? Oh, no. It was Jack Nicholson. That's who it was. It was Jack. Because you always see him on TV, he be on Lakers sidelines and stuff, but you see him in person, and you see the rings, and you see the diamonds gleaming, like you're like, oh, that's Jack. Like Jack's the man. So I would say that was the time I was real starstruck, and I would say who else that called me going on. No, Eddie Robinson. But it was years ago. Eddie Robinson was big because in our community, Eddie Robinson is a coaching god. So Eddie Robinson, that was like the only two times I was really starstruck. Like once you start working in third parties and concert side of the business, you see everybody. Then it's just like, all right, is this person not a jerk or a jerk? Like,
so top 3 HBCU classics.
Ooh, okay. Bayou is one. I would say what's a good one? No, you know what's good back in the day? It's not as good anymore. It was a Labor Day Classic, TSU versus Prairie View. That was like the thing to do in Houston every year when that classic happened. It's not the same anymore. Back in the day, and I tell people, like, people don't realize how big HBCUs was back in the day. Like when it came to football games. Like they would fill out the Astrodome for the Labor Day Classic every time, and it's not like that anymore. I think they play in the Dynamo Stadium now, but every time it was just sell out. It used to be like the event to go to, and then I'll say Circle City Classic as well. Yeah, definitely.
All time Houston Rocket starting 5.
Hakeem, that's one. We're gonna go with Clyde. Gotta have Drex. And my power forward is Otis Thorpe. I love
my goodness.
Yeah, Otis Thorpe, my guy, man. Yeah. Yeah. And my point, regardless, is Mad Max. Vernon Maxwell.
We got some chemistry stuff with Matt.
Look, my team gonna be the best. They can fight. I'll tell you that much.
They damn sure can fight.
They can fight. And then I like T-Mac, man. T-Mac was cold, man. I hate he had all those injuries. T-Mac was legit, man.
So I gotta ask, where's James the Beard at? Where he come off the bench or? What we got with James Harden?
No, I bring James off the bench. James would be the big man. I mean, there's a lot of listen, there's a lot of Rockets. Like, I think it's more sentimental because the Rockets when they won the championship, like their championship team. Like, yeah, Kenny, Sam Cassell, Robert Ory, like that team, man.
Mario Elie,
the kiss of death. Like, yeah, that's something that gives me butterflies. That team was the team, man.
Loving Basketball or The Wood?
Oh, I'm gonna tell you this, and people are gonna get mad at me. I think Loving Basketball is not a good movie.
Oh,
so The Wood is over Loving Basketball.
I agree.
Right there.
That did make my day. I
don't know about not a good movie.
If you go back and look at Loving Basketball, you're like, man, this movie was trash. Like, why we hyped it up like that?
I'm telling you. But shout out to Quincy McCall's dad. I was also starstruck the first time I saw him. So shout out to him. And then my last question. You guys travel the world. So give me your top place to travel that you've been so far and where you want to go.
I would say Italy is the best place. When it comes to food, just culture, and just being chill. It's just a chill place, man. It's a real chill place. If you want to go shopping, it's great shopping. It's great fashion. If you want food, it's great food. If you want great culture, great museums and things like that, is the best to me. The next place I would probably say is, I would say go to Costa Rica. Costa Rica and South Africa. Those are my three. So place I want to go, man, I would say there's not too many places I haven't been yet. But you know what? I haven't been to Fiji. I want to do Fiji. I haven't did Fiji. So
shout out to it. All right. Italy, gotta get there.
Yeah, do it. Definitely do it.
We good, EJ? Yeah. I said that.
You got another question? You gonna throw it back to me? Or?
I said last one.
Oh, my bad, man. I guess caught up in the rapture. Anyway, all right, man. So let's move on to the winner's circle, man. So this is just a platform where we get to talk about, what you have going on and other things. So I think how I want to start this was just kind of one of the things that you've had going to college and having your family, like your cousin that showed you the ropes. You really kind of taken that nature of really giving back. And that's one of your core things that I've seen and heard, throughout kind of how you've gone and just the relationships you keep. So you are on the leadership for a local Black organization, Black Sports Professionals on the Las Vegas chapter. Like, why is that important to you? And why is kind of like giving back in a whole, not just in that organization, what you do, just in your career? Why is that important to you?
Yeah. For me, it's very important because I feel that I don't want people to have to go through what I went through to make it.
Facts.
It took me a while to get where I'm at right now, and I feel like if our people had more information, if we had the information to how to make the career moves, how to react in a room full of your different peers, how to network. Like, networking is the biggest thing you can do in this industry. And I tell people that all the time when I talk to them. Like, I tell people my thing is always open. If I'm open, available to talk, I'm gonna talk to you. And I'm working with another group, Black Sports Academy, as well. And that group, I'm helping them out with some stuff. And I was like, yeah, any of the kids want to talk, I will talk to them about anything. And telling them like how important it is to network. Don't be afraid. Like, don't go to a conference and stick with your group. Reach out to other teams, see other leagues. Find you a mentor in that group. Mm-hmm. It's always good to have those conversations and talk with people.
100%.
Yeah, and people didn't tell me that coming up. Like, I had to learn that as I went along. It was like, and now it's like a respect in the industry. Like, people know my name. They knew me from the beginning, and they watched me like grow throughout the industry. And it's like, man, every time they see me, like, dude, I'm so proud of you. Like, you really came a long way in the sports industry, just in this realm. And they know how hard it is to navigate. And I tell people, always make those friends, because you never know when those friends are going to get hired somewhere else and like, oh, you know what? I have a good guy right here. Let me bring him on. Let me fill this role. So,
all right. So, go ahead, MH.
mentorship, being a mentor and being a mentee to somebody. Talk about the importance of that. I know we talk about it a lot, and that's a kind of a buzzword, but kind of dive more into it for me.
So a lot of my mentors are people I actually work with and people I just respect and people I know I can call at any time. And I told somebody it's very important to have that relationship because they can help you navigate throughout your career. It might be a situation where you need to talk about money. Like, oh, how do I get more money? How do I get a raise in my job? How do I negotiate my deal when I'm going to a new job?
Right.
And I'm starting this whole thing now, especially in the ticket ops world. Like I came in through the ticket ops world, but I'm like branched off from that. And like now I'm doing sales, marketing, all this different stuff. But I tell everybody from ticket ops, y'all got to stop taking less money. Like stop taking less money. Like because you're working harder than any salesperson. You're working harder. You're working longer than anybody in the building, and you basically ruining your body to do this job. You're tired. You're exhausted. You're working every event every night. You're working from 9 a.m. You're doing 7 a.m. on sales. And I tell them all the time, y'all have to stop taking like low amount of money just for job. You have to be able to raise that amount up for everybody else. So when it's an opportunity to take another job, I'll say if they're paying you a lot more, I need you to take that job. I want you to treat it like the baseball union. You know how baseball players do it in the union? It's a lot of players on some teams that random teams, like Carlos Correa with the Twins. But you know why he went there? Because the union is basically telling them, like, no, you need to go here and take this money here. That's the reason they're going there. They don't even love those cities, but they're sending to these cities like because no, you have to take max dollars. They tell all their players that in baseball, regardless, like whoever gives you the biggest contract, that's who you sign with.
There you go.
Because they know that it increases it for everybody else that comes behind them.
Nice. Speaking of shooting your shot, man, so I definitely want to come back around this. You know, I read somewhere that you want to be a president of a league, and you specifically said NBA or NFL is one of the two leagues, man. So how is that progression? And I love the fact that you shoot for a focus like, hey, I'm going to work for the UFC. And like you said, it took you some time you got there. So I can't wait till you're president of one of those leagues. But talk to me about where did that come from and what are you doing to prepare yourself, man?
I would say my mother, like always, I was always ambitious. So she knew that. She's like, I just need you to focus that ambition on good things. And that was her biggest thing. Like, you need to focus on good things. Like, you have a lot of ambition. I know you. I need you to focus it on all good things.
Right.
So for me, it's always write down a goal, right? Like I set a goal when I was with the Houston Rockets. I was working a couple of years. I started working these events. UFC came through twice. I was like, oh man, I love this. Like, I want to be a part of this company. This company is going to be big. And this before the UFC was like real huge.
Wow.
So for me, I was like, I got to be a part of this. I really need to do this. Like, I want to be a part of this. So every time I got a decline, like, teamwork, the senior decline, oh, you didn't get the job. I kept it and I put it on my desk wall as my motivation. Like, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to do. Like, I've been denied for this position. Like, I really want to work for the UFC. Like, that was the goal. Like, I wanted to get to Vegas, work in Vegas, work my way to Vegas so I can get to the UFC.
Wow.
And for me, I tell people, I was like, man, I'm just ambitious. Like, now my next goal. I was like, all right, I wanted to be a VP. I made that my next goal. It was like, my goal is to be the VP. Became a VP. All right. Before I even signed the paper of me being a VP, I already pitched, like, as soon as you sign that paper, all right, what's the next goal? What's your next goal after this? Because you're the VP now. You prepared and you're ready for this, and you have all your goals in place of what you're going to do as a VP and what you want to accomplish.
Right.
But all right, where's the end game to this? What's your next step? For me, I look at it as like, all right, next step probably is COO, Chief Operating Officer. Give him COO, team president. And sometimes if you're good enough, you skip COO and you go straight to team president. It happens like that. Like I've skipped a lot. Like I went from supervisor to director to VP. Like
you went from sales to ticket ops. Like
from sales to ticket ops, back to sales. But I tell people that was a good experience for me. Like learning from what's crazy about it. One of our managers of sales for the Rockets when I was there, she's now the team president. So seeing her and watching her career and how she progressed, that's just motivation. Like seeing how she did it, seeing how she carried herself, seeing how she walked the rooms. And I'll tell you right now, she wasn't like the president from New York, she a boss. She is a boss. Like she been like that her whole life. Like she knows she was in a world where there's a lot of men in power. So, but she was strong. She understood the assignment. She knew what she had to do, and she's the team president. So for me, I have a lot of colleagues and people I work with. I can look at and like, all right, reach out to and like, all right, this is what my next move is. And for me right now, the UFC is like, I want to get to UFC to a level where it's never been when it comes to like sales and marketing and just being innovative. That's one thing I love about the UFC. It lets us be innovative and do anything we want to do compared to like other standard sports organizations.
Right.
You consider yourself a curious person?
Definitely. I'm very curious. And I will tell you a story and you'll be able to look this up. So when I was at Southern University, I was in political science. And in our community, it's all Democratic and it's real push. You're learning basically about the Democrats and all their policies and procedures. Being at Southern University, so me, being the rebel that I am, I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring a college Republicans to a HBCU. So I ended up pulling it off. I did it. It's actually in congressional record. You look it up right now, type in genetinner Congress, it's going to pop up because I actually brought like the first college Republicans to a HBCU. And for me, it was more of a learning experience. I was like, if you're going to learn politics, you should learn both sides. You should be a master of both. You can't just be a master of one. You can't just know your side, and you got to see how the other party's thinking. Like anything you do, you want to know what the other party's thinking, how they view, what are their policies and procedures, and what are they thinking? What are their constituents looking at when it comes to politics?
Yeah, so man. Like in any game you play, you got to learn the rules, right?
You got to learn the rules. You got to learn the rules. Like, all right. And then this was the Bush era. So we really was like, all right, we know what Bush was doing wrong, but we didn't know what the Democrats was doing wrong.
Right.
So I wanted to see like, all right, what do the Republicans think the Democrats are doing wrong? And what I knew what the Democrats thought the Republicans was doing wrong and how they were handling it. But what's the other side of that? So for me, it was like one of those things. I did it. My professor came back and said, Gene, you're crazy, but I get it. I said, I know what you're a student of mine. I know what you're doing. So she knew. She's like, I know what you're doing. You're like, you're really a person that's down the line. You don't lean on any parties. You're not a party person. Like, that's just not you. That's not your nature. You won't be a person that's going to assign yourself to a party. Never going to happen. Never going to happen. So that's when I did it, brought it there. And it was just one of those experiences where I got to meet everybody. I got to meet Bobby Jindal, who ended up being the governor of Louisiana. That wasn't a good governor, but he was the governor of Louisiana. And it put me in different areas, and I got to learn people, how they think, what they were thinking, what they really thought about our community. And I tell people all the time, I was like, man, if you really know, I have real good friends that are in Congress right now. All of them work in Congress. I go to DC, go hang out with them. And I tell people all the time, it's like all this arguing and all this craziness in the world. And you know what's happening at the end of the day? The same guys that are arguing on both sides are going to lunch together. They're going to play golf together after work. They play basketball. They work out together. They go to dinner as families. And I was like, and I see these guys battling on TV. I'm like, this is all a facade. It's not even real. It's like you're battling on TV, but I know you're going to lunch with each other. I know your families are having picnics and parties and all that. Your kids are going to each other's birthday parties on the weekend. So
that's a part of it that people don't understand, you know.
And I say, and people get so caught up in like, oh, I need to be a Republican. I need to stand on everything they mean, and even if it's wrong, I need to stand up. I'm a Democrat. I need to stand up on it. I need to be a part of it real bad. I was like, guys, at the end of the day, you need to look out what's best for look for what's best for everybody. Take the good points from each side, and then that's how you make your decision. But right now, it's just so crazy. People, I tell them it's basically just the blood and Crips. That's all it is. It's gangs. It's just gangs. That's it. I was like, people not being honest with themselves. I'm like, if you really know these people, like I can have this, I can see the conversation from the outside. I can see a Fox News and I can see a CNN and I can like, all right, these people full of crap.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was just in DC a month ago and we all just went to lunch. So, like, what are you talking about? Like, why are y'all fronting for the public? Like, it's just a whole facade. Like, that's the one thing I didn't like about politics is like if you my boy, the way y'all talk about each other, we shouldn't be friends.
Right. That ain't cool. Like,
like
I heard what you said on that little campaign.
Yeah, I saw you on Fox News talking all this noise saying this about me and I'm extreme leftist or I'm woke or something like that. But like, what? No. I was like, I'm one of them guys that believe in term limits. I'm like, I go there and I was like, none of these people should be here.
Right. It's time for y'all to go. It's time for y'all to go.
Y'all been here before I was born.
Yeah, it's time and stuck with old ideas. All right, speaking of old ideas, man, because we're getting close to wrap it up, man. This is the section we like to call the assist, man, where you can drop a coaching gem or words to live by, maybe something you would tell your younger self. So just give us a quick quote or something you would tell younger Gene.
I would tell younger Gene to not be afraid to reach out earlier than what I did. Like if I can go back and tell myself the first time when I got in the industry, I was just more of myself, like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna do this. But I didn't understand it. I was getting frustrated because I wasn't getting promoted fast enough. I felt like I was doing all this work. I should be promoted. I should be a manager. I should be a boss. But I wasn't doing the right things to do that.
There you go.
So, yeah.
MH, final words?
Gene, man, a long time coming, man. Appreciate you jumping on, man. And it's a great honor to hear your perspective and what you're doing for us as a culture, man. So keep it up, bro.
For sure.
And G, man, just for the listeners, man, if you could just shout out kind of how they can reach out to you, like, is it LinkedIn, is it your social? And then also, you talked about the Black Sports Academy, BSP. I mean, we didn't even get into, your speaking, us bringing this HBCU class here to Vegas, so much stuff.
Yes, we need to do that. We need to talk about it.
But please kind of give where they can reach out to you, and we'll put this in the show notes.
Oh, definitely. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Is under genetinner1 LinkedIn. So also King Gene UFC, IG, King Gene UFC, Twitter. So it's everywhere. So you can reach out to me anytime.
Well, that's it, man. Well, hey, we want to thank you, man, Gene, for taking the time for jumping on the show with us, man, and sharing a little bit, man. And you'll probably see Gene again. He jumps up on the live show, so maybe you'll catch him if he has time.
Yeah, and I didn't get back on that live. I'm mad I missed the last one. I was like, man, come on. There's a lot of topics that I like to get off my chest, and that's a way to get it off.
Thank you. See, there's a plug for the live show. We appreciate that. We ain't even paying for that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But hey, Gene, thank you so much for the wisdom and your time, man, making time for us, man. We know you're a busy guy, man. So they call him King Gene for a reason, man. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, man. So, hey, people, I hope you enjoyed today's show. We drop a new show every Thursday. So please subscribe because visual representation matters. All right. So please stay safe, practice gratitude, and know we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Look. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap and back.